Today we're going to be talking about hope. Hope when you want to quit. There's a well-known joke, and don't ask me how I know this, but there's a well-known joke that all Baptist preachers in the South love fried chicken. Again, don't ask me how I know that, but I read it somewhere. But one time this pastor was spending a whole week filling in for another minister at his church, and sometimes it's customary, you get meals provided for you. I mean, that's the one thing that people will usually do for a visiting minister. And so he was there for 5 nights. Well, this minister didn't like fried chicken at all. So the first 4 nights, they provided meals for him, and guess what was provided? Fried chicken. So the 5th and final night, he's there. Comes up to the door, window's cracked. He can smell it. He knows what they're cooking, and he comes in, and there it is on the table, fried chicken. He doesn't like fried chicken. To make matters worse, they asked him to say the blessing, of course. That's usually what the minister has to do. And so this is the prayer he actually prayed for that meal. He said, Lord, I've had it young, I've had it old. I've had it hot, I've had it cold. I've had it tender, and I've had it tough. But no thank you, Lord, I've had enough. Amen. And he stormed out of there, never to be seen again. At one time or another, most people come to a point where they've just had enough. It's it. I can't go on. One of the greatest prophets in the Old Testament was Elijah. And we're going to be reading from 1 Kings chapter 19 if you want to grab your Bible, your tablet, or whatever you use. The verses will also be on the screen. But one of the greatest prophets in the Old Testament was Elijah. And in 1 Kings chapter 19, we will read about his desire to quit. He's even ready for God to end his life. All right, 1 Kings 19. I'll give you guys a second to get a glass of water. All right, verse 1. Now Ahab told Jezebel everything Elijah had done and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. So Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah and say, may the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like one of them. Elijah was afraid and ran for his life. When he came to Beersheba in Judah, he left his servant there, while he himself went a day's journey into the desert. He came to a broom tree. He sat down under it and prayed that he might die. I've had enough, Lord, he said. Take my life. I'm no better than my ancestors. Then he lay down under the tree and fell asleep. Now try to imagine this great prophet under a broom tree in the desert. A broom tree that looks something like this. Yeah, this is what I found for a broom tree. Elijah had just had one of the greatest victories of his life. In response to his prayers, God gave him victory over the prophets of Baal. He also broke a 3-year drought that had plagued the land. He should have been on top of the world. He should have been feeling pretty good about the things going on. Yet we find him depressed, wanting to die underneath a broom tree. This morning, my desire is that this message will help you to find hope in spite of any challenges, in spite of any struggles you might be facing. You know, ever wonder why, we kind of dominate our thoughts and our priorities on New Testament, but do you ever wonder why we go back to the Old Testament? Well, I think the answer is found in Romans 15:4. It says this, for everything that was written in the past was written to teach us, so that through the endurance and the encouragement of scriptures, we might have, and here's that word, hope. Hope is woven through so many of the Old Testament passages and stories, and the story of Elijah fits the passage perfectly. So let's continue and see what we can learn from Elijah. Now, even strong, committed God followers face discouragement at some point. You Here was a prophet that was so discouraged, he was ready for a non-prophet existence. He was an emotional mess. And Elijah had gone beyond the normal state of frustration that we might think of. He was suffering what we would probably refer to as full-blown depression. And just like back then, many people struggle with mental depression in our day. Here's some depressing facts from the National Institute of Mental Health. This is from a few years ago, so some of these may need to be updated, especially with the pandemic that we've just been going through. But 17.6 million adults in America will deal with depression in their lifetime. 1 out of 5 Americans, and this might get higher, will deal with depression in their life. Women, 2 more times likely to be depressed than men. Untreated depression is the #1 cause of suicide. And depression is a leading cause for alcoholism, drug abuse, and other addictions. It's easy to see the reasons why Elijah wanted to quit. They're the same reasons that make people want to quit today and give up. Now, those reasons may vary from person to person, but I think there are 3 main reasons we want to quit. And the first one is we want to quit when we're physically drained. We want to quit when we're physically drained. Now, in our story, Elijah was running for his life. He ran all the way from Jezreel to Beersheba, which is about 70 miles. And this all happened after his confrontation with the prophets of Baal. So it's fair to say that there wasn't much gas left in his tank. Personally, I'm not sure how he did this. It was about 7 years ago, I believe, when I ran my one and only marathon, my bucket list thing. Now, I had envisioned in my mind's eye crossing the finish line as some glorious moment, like you'd see in the movies, some culmination of all my hard work coming together as a single defining moment in time. Well, at the moment I finished the race, it wasn't like that at all. I was not happy. There was no joy in my heart at all. You can ask my wife. She knew that I was very crabby, and I just wanted to go home. I wanted to take my shoes off, my socks off, and just rest. I'd never felt that kind of physical drain before in my life. So if you're ever interested in feeling that, run a marathon. But we all know to some extent what it feels like where you just want to collapse. You've just had enough physically. The second reason, so that's the first reason we want to quit, when we're physically drained. The second reason is when we feel emotionally deserted. Emotionally deserted. The wicked queen Jezebel, she hated Elijah, and she was out to get him. Because of this, Elijah thought, well, she hates me, everyone must hate me too. I mean, in verse 10 and verse 14, he says the exact same things twice. He says, I've been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to the death with the sword. I am the only one left, and now they're trying to kill me too. Elijah's kind of having a pity party for one. He tells God, I'm the only one left who is faithful. No one else, Lord. You okay? It's like, that's an amen right there. So Elijah, he's having a pity party for one. He feels like he's the only one who's faithful, that there's no one else left. And when you're emotionally deserted, you can become quite irrational. Fear and paranoia can start to consume you, and you struggle to view your problem from a proper perspective. Your problem from a proper perspective. Glad I could say that. But we all have problems. There's big problems, there's small problems. But you know what the difference between a big problem and a small problem is? A big problem is what I'm going through. Small problem, that's probably you. I'm guilty of that too. I mean, I sometimes have that mindset that I've got the toughest life, even though I don't want to come out and admit it, I kind of live that way sometimes in my mind. when you're feeling emotionally deserted, you lose a proper perspective of the problems you're facing, and you just want to quit. So physically drained, emotionally deserted, and the third reason we want to quit is when we are spiritually depleted. Spiritually depleted. Elijah just, like I said, had this spiritual high on Mount Carmel. You would think that would go a little further than just a few weeks. And our spiritual experiences can be the same way. We can have a great time on Sunday morning, and we can feel spiritually 100% on fire. And somebody cuts me off in the parking lot, and all of a sudden my spiritual experience is gone. I'm all of a sudden mad and crabby, and I've let people affect my mood. We need to be careful when we find ourselves physically, emotionally, and spiritually drained, because that's exactly when you want to quit. But the Bible teaches there is great value in refusing to give up and quit. I saw this funny cartoon that communicated the value of persistence. You see what's happening here? This large bird is trying to eat a frog, and you see what the frog's doing? He's holding his throat. He's like, I'm not going that easy. In our story, Elijah was ready to give up and quit, but God wouldn't let him. And God didn't leave him to figure it out on his own either. He gave him instructions to restore that hope. And I believe we can learn and apply these to our own situations. So when you feel like quitting, the first thing is to take care of your body. Don't give up, get up. God sent an angel to Elijah, and he says this. He says, get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you. So he got up and ate and drank. Strengthened by that food, he traveled for 40 days and 40 nights. If you want to quit, you should pay attention to your body. God gave Elijah 3 things we all need. First, he slept, then he ate, and then he exercised. Now, Elijah was so exhausted that he actually slept for 2 days. And if you're not getting enough rest, then you develop what experts call a sleep debt. And it's a debt that will eventually get paid. It may get paid by a poor performance, an emotional collapse, but it would be better paid by catching up on your sleep. And how much sleep you need varies from person to person. I know for myself, 7 hours is a pretty good spot for me to be in. Otherwise, I don't feel so good. So if you're actually operating on a sleep debt today, I guess I don't mind if you fall asleep, because you would actually be putting this sermon into practice. This may be the only time you ever hear that. But feel free to catch up on that sleep. All right, so Elijah caught up on his sleep, and then he ate. When he woke up, the angel had prepared a cake for him. Probably my favorite food. It's fair to say it was angel food cake. Yeah, he got that. Whatever it was, I thought it was funny. Whatever it was, God was demonstrating that what we eat can affect the way we feel. So after eating his angel food cake, God put him on an exercise program for the next 40 days, walking from Mount Horeb to the Sinai Peninsula, which would average to be about 5 miles a day. Now, we all know the physical benefits of exercise, but it also helps fight off depression and discouragement. So if you're feeling like quitting, take care of your body. Don't give up, get up. The second one is to listen to God's voice. Don't give up, look up. The Lord said, go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by. Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord, but the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face. He went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. Then a voice said to him, what are you doing here, Elijah? After Elijah's eating and exercise program, Elijah arrived at Mount Horeb and took up residence in a cave. While Elijah was in the cave, God taught him something about how to listen to him. God sent a tornado, He sent an earthquake, He sent a fire. Through these 3 colossal demonstrations, Elijah couldn't hear God's voice. And the same thing happens to us. There are times in our life where the tornadoes and the earthquakes and the fires make it impossible for us to hear God. All we hear is that chaos going on around us. If you want to hear God's voice, sometimes you got to turn down that noise the best you can. You listen by reading your Bible. You listen through other Christians who are more mature in their faith that can offer guidance. You listen in your quiet times of prayer. I really believe God is speaking, but are we listening? So we have 2 directions so far. I've learned in the past, I'm going to break here for a second, but there was this elder that was an old minister. He gave me this advice. He said, a sermon's always got 3 points. And I think somebody else said that here once too. And we've got 3 points here, but I just think that's interesting. It's just weird. But anyways, so we have 2 directions so far. Don't give up, get up. Don't give up, look up. The third one is don't give up, link up. Share your burdens with someone. Share your burdens with one another. Isn't that what we're commanded to do? Elijah, he thought he was all alone. 2 times he said, I'm the only one left, and now they're trying to kill me too. God's reply to this was direct and it was specific. He said, anoint Hazael king over Aram. Also anoint Jehu, son of Nimshi, king over Israel. And anoint Elisha, son of Shaphat, from Abel Meholah, to succeed you as prophet. I reserve 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed down to Baal and whose mouths have not kissed him. God was basically telling Elijah, you got to quit your pity party. You're not alone. You really aren't. I've got some people who need you, and I've got some people you need them. One of the biggest delusions of depression is to think that song, nobody knows the trouble I've seen. When in fact, there's many people who have struggled exactly with the same type of scenario you're going through. Part of the function of a healthy church is to help you with that. Maybe it's money issues. Maybe it's marriage problems. Maybe you just have a dysfunctional family. I'm pretty sure we can help you connect with other people or get you some help if you're struggling and depressed. But the worst thing you can do is not tell anybody or share that. The best thing you can do is to start reaching out for help. One of my favorite movies of all time, I think it was about 20 years ago. Probably I like it because I'm a guy. It was the movie Gladiator. And Russell Crowe, who plays the character, is Maximus is his name. And he's stuck in the Colosseum with these fellow gladiators. They've kind of been unfairly treated. But Maximus and the others, they're outnumbered, they're outmatched. This is all set up so they're supposed to lose and die. And there's a moment of panic when the charioteers are going around them. Well, there's a moment there where Maximus says 6 words that becomes the key to their victory. He says, if we stay together, we survive. If we stay together, we survive. And the reason that works is because you become an easy prey, an easy target when you're by yourself. And that's good advice for us today. Our adversary wants to destroy friendships, wants to destroy families, wants to destroy communities, divide and conquer. But we are stronger when we stick together. God's plan to help Elijah is the same one that can help us today. Get up, take care of your body. Look up, listen for God's voice. Link up, share your burden with others, and get involved with the church. Life can be tough at times. And being a Christian doesn't just magically make all your problems disappear. We all know that. But your attitude makes all the difference. One of my favorite stories is about a farmer who owned an old donkey. The donkey was very old, mostly blind, and the farmer knew he should probably put it down. But he just couldn't bring himself to do it. Well, one day the donkey falls in this abandoned well. And the farmer hears the braying, or maybe the donkey praying, and went over to investigate. So as he assessed the situation, the farmer determined, well, the donkey's probably not worth saving. And so he called the neighbors and said, can you help me just fill this in? I'll take care of the two problems at once. So when the first few shovels of dirt fell on the donkey, obviously the donkey became frantic. But then the donkey made a decision that would save his life. So instead of just giving up and being buried, whenever the dirt landed on him, he would shake it off, and then he would step on it. Shake it off and step on it. As the dirt kept on piling on him, that's what he did. Shake it off and step on it. And before long, the old donkey, battered and dirty, he stepped over the edge of the wall. That may be what God is telling you to do today. Life throws a lot of dirt on you. What are you going to do? Are you going to quit? Or are you going to shake it off and maybe step on it? Get up, look up, link up.